Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's little episode. I'm joined by two exciting professionals within the industry who've got some lovely news to share. Julia and Anina, thank you for joining me today. Would you like to both introduce yourselves?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us today, Emily. So my name is Anina. I'm the new global director of the new business unit of MartinBauer Nutraceuticals. Joined the company 6 months ago. I'm within the industry since 15 years, Nordish by nature, coming from the north of Germany. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you. Julia.
Julia Wiebe. I'm the Director of Scientific Affairs and Marketing of MartinBauer Nutraceuticals. I also have been quite a while in the industry. I have been away for a few years to pharma, and now I'm so excited to be part of this new adventure we are building here.
Yes, and thank you.
Lovely, and thanks for the invitation,
No,
Emily. It's
thank
always
you.
a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Anina, looking back at your career journey, what experiences most shaped sort of the leader you are today and what originally drew you into the botanical nutraceutical space?
So I think it's a mixture of various things. It's not only one experience or one career step that I took. It's definitely a mixture of various things. First one, I would say the main three things are, first one is definitely education. So, your parents taught you about working hard, being diligent, being very honest and very direct all the time. That was one of the most beneficial learnings that I had, I would say, during my whole career. Second part is definitely the social volunteership that I took right after the school, before I started university, working for a hospice in Hungary. That definitely changed my mindset in terms of the social side and the thinking and knowing that there's always something else than just the capitalism and profitability around everything else that you do. And then the third thing is my first real job after university for a big global flavor and color house, where I had a fantastic training program for really a unique talent program with various mentors involved. And it was a huge training program that lasts 4 years almost, in various steps, in various countries, in various roles. And that definitely changed the professional me, I would say.
No, and thank you for sharing that. It's really interesting you say about being direct and that being good advice. That's some advice that I've had from both of my parents the whole way through is, you can say anything you like as long as you say it professionally and with a smile and be direct. So I really hear that from you. Julia, from your perspective, what has been the defining thread of your career so far and how has that led you to the role that you are in today?
So I would say the defining thread was probably I like to get things done and I love to see results and I'm curious. I love to learn new things. And I think that's going through my whole career. So after my PhD, I moved to Spain. I started to work in academia in diabetes research, completely new field. I had to learn something completely new. We built up a research group at the university that's still working and has grown. And then I got to the point where I felt I need something new, basic research. It's not really where you see fast results. I moved to the nutraceutical industry, first to new product development. Then I took also over technical marketing and finally as chief science officer. And then again, I got to the point where I wanted to see more, get more knowledge about the management side of the business, because as scientist, you're always left a bit at the side. And I did an MBA and then I got the chance from Finzelberg to take over their final product pharma business, Red OTC, as managing director. And that was a great chance to learn even more, get into contracts, legal, also a lot of regulatory. So I've been different places from academia, Nutra, pharma, and in very different roles. And I think learning all that now really helps me for the current role, overseeing R&D, marketing, and regulatory affairs at MartinBauer Nutraceuticals.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Anina, at a high level, why was now the right moment to create this new business unit and what gap or opportunity does it address within the organization?
So I think if you honestly, if you ask the unpatient me, I would say the right moment was probably a bit earlier than just right now. But I mean, the need is clear. The need in the industry is we see more complexity. We see difficulties in supply chain with, of course, all the political situation around it.
Mm.
Not being able to access various areas that we were able to access before in terms of sourcing. And then also the regulatory guidelines are stricter and stricter and becoming more tough and more complex for everyone. So there's a lot of pressure on our customers, especially in sourcing botanicals and using botanicals in their final application. And everyone is just looking for simplicity because everyone wants to be fast. We want to launch something tomorrow, ideally. The nutri industry, especially the food supplement part, is super fast. What is fancy today is probably no longer fancy tomorrow. So everyone is looking for simplicity and an easy way of sourcing botanicals and using them. And then, on the other hand, there is this strong position of the Nature Network. The Nature Network is what we call the group of Finzelberg, MartinBauer, and Phytolab. And, and with this whole group, if you look at this whole group, they are already in a huge, very, very strong position because they bring all of this to the table. Though the complexity and the regulation from the pharma part, they are the most experts probably in sourcing botanicals across the world. They have a very robust supply chain. They are very well known in the whole entire market, food and beverage market, definitely, for sourcing botanicals in a very, very transparent way. And so bringing that all to the table and seeing the needs of the industry, it was just like, when are you finally doing it? So that was what it brought all together. And then I think it was just the right strategic step from our fourth generation family-owned business to bring that all together, The earlier, the better, I would say.
No, absolutely. And Julia, how does this new business unit sort of build on the heritage already of MartinBauer, Finzelberg, and MB Med, while also doing something completely new?
So they all three companies bring something different to the table. I mean, Finzelberg is known as a pharma company doing pharma level extracts, botanical extracts for 150 years. Of course, this pharma mindset shapes your way of doing clinical studies, of looking at documentation, at quality. Everything is very, very detailed and high level. And then we have on the other side MartinBauer with this 100 years of deep botanical knowledge, knowing all these plants, having a very good hold of the supply, of the sourcing of these botanicals. On top, they, coming from the tea and food and beverage side, of course, they are used to do final applications. So when I first saw the application labs in southern Germany, where the headquarter is, I was so impressed to see all these labs where people are sitting, trying out new flavors, new color combinations, like thyme lychee or crazy things, because to the tea business, they cannot just give them an extract. It has to be something that fits a customer's new product idea. And that, of course, is also something we see in our industry. Companies want flavors, want color, want taste. They don't just want you to give them a brown extract. So this is what is coming from MartinBauer. And then we have MB Med. They have been catering to one of the biggest European markets in Italy for decades. They are known for being fast. If someone can't get the supply from their traditional supplier, they ask MB Med, and they make it possible because they have this distribution hub and huge warehouse where they can ship stuff very fast. And bringing all of that together, that is what's actually new, that we work as a team across all these different units across countries. And what we give the customer is basically not only the confidence in a product, in an ingredient, because of our know-how behind it, but also a partner that can help with everything. From the seedling, where we look exactly how it's grown, to sourcing, to science, to getting the stuff out to the customer. So, and helping them with the final product development. So I think that is really something what Anina said before. They need speed. The industry is moving very fast. They want to be on the market in 6 months, and they need someone who knows the whole story and not just one detail of it. And I think this is something that now with this MartinBauer Nutraceuticals, we can really offer our clients. It's convenience.
And without getting into KPIs, Anina, what does success look like for this business unit in its first phase?
In its first phase, I would say if at least every second buyer or developer thinks about first thing in the morning when he wants to develop a new product with a botanical, thinks about MartinBauer Nutraceuticals, ideally with a smile. So I think that will be the biggest success that we can expect in the first phase, definitely. And then, going forward, I think we want to be a reliable partner. No, I don't think. I'm absolutely sure that we want to be a reliable partner. We want to be the single gateway for everyone who needs a botanical in the nutraceutical industry, no matter for which need. No matter if you wanted science back or just for a label claim on your product, you should think of MartinBauer Nutraceuticals first. And then going forward, of course, we want to be the first go-to address for everyone and not only for every second one.
So this question is to both of you. Obviously, botanicals and nutraceuticals are increasingly competitive. What genuinely sort of sets this business unit apart in terms of today's offering and long-term strategy?
So I think our portfolio is outstanding. And of course, having a global leader like MartinBauer in the background explains why we can source basically everything. We have, I would say, the biggest portfolio when it comes to botanicals worldwide. But if there's something we don't have, we always have the chance to get it. So I think that's a big advantage. And being a one-stop shop, we make sure that we do not only offer high-end products or only branded ingredients with thorough science behind it, but also very simple products from extracts and powders, everything someone could need for formulations. Usually, a final product does not only contain a branded ingredient, but also different types of powders and extracts. And also fashionable ingredients like, for example, currently matcha and hojicha. This wave came all of a sudden. Many suppliers have problems to deliver the amounts that are needed now. And this is something where we have an advantage because we have these supply chains that have been built over so many decades that it's easier for us to make sure that we can then only also serve bigger amounts of something that becomes a fashion. And besides of extracts, functional extracts, for example, we also offer everything that's actually botanical. So we have seen in the last years a lot of replacement, for example, of sugar or artificial fillers, because clients, final consumers, they want to understand what they are actually eating, right? So they don't want to read something they can't even pronounce on a label. And companies have replaced many of these ingredients already. And now from the US is coming another wave of doing that to add natural fillers, natural anti-caking agents, natural sweeteners that do not come with an E number, precision fiber. Fiber is now a big thing, different types of fiber. It's not just eat fiber. It's take this for that, take this for sports. And this is something where we really want to be the go-to partner for everything that's actually botanical.
Yeah. I can just, only agree on what you are saying, the broadness and the wideness of the portfolio that we are having, especially by bringing Finzelberg and MartinBauer together on the table. Is the reason why I signed up for it, because it's a huge opportunity to offer to all the different players in the market, from multinationals, brands, contract manufacturers, to offer various things, on various qualities. Some focus very much on science, others are just, as I said before, out for the label claim. So, and you can bring it to the table with the right quality and meeting the need of every single customer in this industry, which is a huge, huge potential for us, definitely. And then the second part is definitely also, the long-term thinking that the whole group has. So the knowledge about the botanical is the one thing, but I can give one example on a specific plant, rhodiola. Rhodiola is known as the all-rounder, similar to ginger or ashwagandha. It's good for everything, So rhodiola is a plant that is endangered right now, and MartinBauer has seen that 20 years ago and started their own cultivation, their own sourcing process, even their own standardization to get to the right quality of the white harvest material to be on the same quality for the cultivated material. And now they went even one step ahead with the knowledge of Finseberg, not only to get the right standardization, to also bring it to a science-backed quality, high quality branded ingredient that targets longevity, muscle health, in a very, very high quality way. So from my point of view, this is bringing all of this together from the sourcing experience, the botanical experience, the standardization, science-backed experience, and bring that all to the table to one plant is the perfect example of what sets us apart from others. Definitely.
When you sort of your customers and partners look back in a few years' time, what do you hope they'll sort of say about this business unit, and what do you want to be known for?
So I think we want to be known definitely for, they should think in the first place, working with MartinBauer Nutraceutical made our life much easier. So that should be the whole thing that they should think about us. We don't want to be the complex partner that needs everything in detail to move forward, that asks 15,000 questions before even starting the work. I think we know the industry much better than a lot of other players. We know the botanicals far better than others. So we want to take away the complexity for them. We want to make their life simpler and really just, if you need something, give us the quality that you need, or tell us the few parameters that you need, and we take care of it. Not only in terms of quality, also in terms of service or individualization of the solution that you finally need. So I think that's what we really want to do. And if we can do that even in a fast way, then I think we met the whole goal that we signed up for.
Absolutely. Julia, you've spoken about how strengths can sometimes create challenges if you're not self-aware. What is something that you've learned about your own leadership style, and how has that changed how you lead teams?
Yeah, I remember we had this discussion. I think it was like a year ago when I started to look into team dynamics and company culture. And I had a discussion with Jill Fish, one of my co-founders of Women Nutraceuticals, who I really admire and trust. I learned a lot with her in the last years, and she knows a lot about company culture and always says, Julia, if you don't get the culture right, nothing else will work out. So she recommended the Clifton Strength Finder, and I then decided to look into that with my coach, and it turned out that my strengths are achiever, activator, learner. I was not surprised by that, but the interesting takeaway was, what does this actually mean? That means that you push a lot and that you move fast. And if that's not balanced for yourself and for the team, there is a risk of unbalance. And what I try is to really pace myself for the best of myself, but also of the team, and really celebrate success and learn and reflect on what's done. And especially now we built this for almost a year, this new company, and there's a lot of things going on in parallel. It's amazing. It's fun, but it's challenging also, and everyone has to stay on board. Lose someone because they get overly stressed. So that was for me very important to always have that in the back of my mind, or I have it as a sticker on my screen. Celebrate success. And so it's not a big revelation in general, but for me it was to know yourself and know your team allows you to move way faster and more efficiently in times of challenging times than if you don't. So that was a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. There's that saying, and I think it's culture eats strategy for breakfast, and that unless you've got the culture in place, it doesn't matter how strong your long-term strategy is. If you
Exactly.
don't have the team to to help you do that, or not everybody working together. So absolutely appreciate that's fantastic advice. Anina, how do you approach leadership when building something new, especially balancing pace, people, and long-term thinking?
So I always use the terminology. I think Julia can't hear it anymore, and the rest of the team neither. I always say, look, it's building the plane while flying it. So there might be various questions that we can't answer at this moment, but we need to move fast. And the passenger, they can't feel that we are still building this plane. For them, it needs to be a full quality experience journey traveling with us. So this is, don't sacrifice on quality, don't sacrifice on reliability in front of the customer. Move fast, make decisions. It's clear about making decisions. We need to quickly make decisions, and then no problem if some of these decisions are not 100% great, adapt, reflect, and then, get to a new way of working. So from my point of view, for me as a leader, it requires clarity and a lot of confidence. So I need to have the plan in mind, and I need to give answers very quickly. We need to take decisions very quickly, the whole leadership team. And we really need to adapt and reflect on that. And we need to give the team, especially in this phase where we get a lot of complexity internally and externally, we need to clearly set priorities and a very clear communication. That means getting the team on the table as often as possible. Don't overdo it, but as often as possible, and give clear guidelines, clear priorities, and clear communication is what we definitely need. And then,
No.
of course, have the long-term plan in mind, It's not only flying the plane, also know where we want to, what the destination is.
No,
And we are
absolutely.
lucky to have an amazing team. That's
Yeah.
also an important point.
Yeah,
So everyone
definitely.
is so excited and came in wanting to get this, build this plane and build it great. And I don't think that anyone noticed that we were still building at some stages. Yeah. So I'm really grateful, It's not always like that you have a team where everyone really wants to be as its best and bring in, and we all make mistakes. And that's the faster you move, the more risk of you have of also to repeat something. But if you have the right team, you can achieve a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And as broad as our portfolio is also the team in terms of skill set and knowledge, of course, because we brought different people from the different businesses into this business unit now working on the same target. That gives you also great variety of talents and skill sets.
Absolutely. Talking about sort of bringing a large group of people together that all want to pull in the same direction, let's talk a little bit about the Women in Nutraceuticals. I feel very proud to sub-chair the UK with Ava Hudson. Julia, you're a founding board director of Women in Nutraceuticals. What do you think has made WIN so successful, particularly without sort of heavy funding behind it?
So I think it was, after COVID, we all felt like we have to do something. We saw 2% of women had left the workforce. We would be back to 1980s if we don't do something. And we had this one meeting at the Vita Foods in October, I think it was that year, where we talked about this topic and realized we have to do something. So in the beginning, we were 11 people, all had the same mission, vision, idea, and the urge to do something. And when we launched 8 months later, the industry received us with such open arms, and so many volunteers like you came on board with passion and believing in this, wanting to put in their part. And every hour they put in is an hour they can't be with their family or friends or watch Netflix or do something else. So it's really a common effort. And this is, I think, why we are growing so fast. We have more than 700 members now. And Europe is just taking off. And it's just the vibe we had in the beginning in the US when we started. Now it's moving to Europe and APAC. And I think it's great to see how it spreads. And it seems like we are everywhere. And I hope that we really make a difference for companies to perform better, because that is what has been shown, that for companies having balanced teams, having equity in their leadership also, that they perform better. And that's what we all need. We need our industry to be successful. So
Absolutely.
I would say in one sentence is thanks to the volunteers putting in their part.
Amazing. What advice would you give to women aiming for senior leadership or C-suite roles in life sciences in general or the nutraceutical space today?
I would
Anina.
say there is no single right way. There are various ways of doing it, various paths, but what shapes you and what is the most powerful thing is diversity in every sense, in terms of the trainings that you are getting, in terms of the opinions that you are hearing, in terms of the mentors that you are picking, in terms of the experience that you are making. So from my point of view, the broader the potpourri of things that you have done, of things that you have heard, or mentors that you have seen, the broader is your horizon. And broaden your horizon is one of the biggest things, the most powerful things that you can do to really build your career.
Yeah. Julia, what about
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think to be bold, to reach out and ask for help is important. Work hard and build a network. The earlier, the better. I wish someone would have told me that when I was at university. And that's what we try to do with WIN as well, right? To also encourage people to reach out. Also to us, as we are sitting here. Those that are watching, they should just not just say, cool, they have done all this and that. How have they done it? Reach out and ask. And my experience is if I reached out to people I thought they were so cool and, oh, Jesus, would they ever answer back? They all did. Because that's, people like to share experience and help others, but you have to ask for it and you have to put in your part as well.
Absolutely. Anina, as you look ahead to the next 12 to 18 months, what excites you about building this business unit?
Everything around it definitely excites me. But I think, in general, from my point of view, I have read it in a book. So I don't remember the book really, but, there are two types of people, it says. One group that gets very excited by the finish of something, and the other group that gets excited by the start of something. And usually, numbers persons are always very excited by the finish of something. When the year-end close is done, everyone is excited. And I consider myself to be a numbers person, but interestingly enough, I'm excited by the start of something, and this is really a great start of building the first real one-stop shop for botanicals, meeting various needs in terms of quality, in terms of things that people need from us, and then also having this huge portfolio to be able to offer to the entire industry is really super exciting. And the second thing is, of course, building the team internally, getting so many different characters, so many different skill sets, so many different sides structured and mindsets together to work for the same thing is super exciting, of course, for a leader. How can it not be? So you're really interacting with so many different individuals and you are trying to convince them all, let's go for the same thing. That's really exciting. And then in the end, we are not trying to build something that is like one size fits it all. It's more the variety of, you can have everything. We are a modular one-stop shop, according to your needs. It's always according to your needs. And that's, of course, an exciting journey. And of course, everyone wants to see, does it work out? Can we really meet the needs of the industry entirely?
Yeah, absolutely. Julia, what should the wider industry be paying more attention to right now, or perhaps isn't getting enough focus?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think it was yesterday, I just read that ginseng is 20% adulterated. We have the same problem. We see it with Rhodiola rosea. Often it's spiked with Rhodiola granulata. We see it now with matcha, which is a huge trend. We have companies standing in line to get matcha. And all these very expensive high-end products that are in need in huge amounts, there is not enough supply, and then someone gets the idea to add mulberry leaves because they are the same green and the same texture, and then the matcha doubles. So I think this is something that is really a serious health risk for our final consumer. And companies are aware of that, and you cannot allow yourself as a final product business to be tested and then it's found that in your product it's actually maltodextrin what you are selling or some other species that is not supposed to be in there. You lose your client's trust, And this is something we are looking at very, very thoroughly. We have our, as part of the company group of the Nature Network, we have Phytolab, which is a company with many decades of experience in analysis, and they develop all these methods very fast. If something new come up, they will have a method in place quickly to check, to test. And we test. We also recommend our customers to test. And then these customers come to us saying, yeah, now we have like 6 different samples we got from all different places, and none of them fits our standards. Could you just quickly supply us with 8 tons of XYZ? Because they realize, they hope they're going for the cheap stuff.
Mhm.
They can solve this. And another problem then is maybe they get it once, and then when they order it next year, the product is a success and they want to scale. And then they realize, damn, this company doesn't even offer the ingredient anymore, or maybe it's completely different. They start from scratch
Yeah.
to qualify a new supplier. And this is also something where we stand with our supply chain. Of course, we can really solve this headache and make our clients' lives easier. But the adulteration, I mean, the ABC is doing a fantastic job here, and some companies as well. I think it's a huge problem, and we should really try to get rid of this problem at some stage. But we're saying that for 20 years, right?
And I
Yeah,
think to add to that, it's really like, then you realize a year later, as Julia said, that the supplier that you have picked can't do the volumes that you need, and then, of course, we can't do it neither, because we are all dependent on the harvest cycles. So if you don't plant rhodiola today, you won't get the volumes that you need in 5 years. And nobody will speed up the growing of a plant, because that's nature. So from our point of view, is also consider that the supplier that you pick can also do the volumes that you need in that quality. That's also one particular thing that people don't tend to focus on enough, because it's nature. We need to, we all respect and adapt the harvest cycles, and nobody will speed it up for you. So it's also the forecasting that you need, supplier.
absolutely. A final question from me. This is more about advice again. So going back, if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self or beginning of your career, what would it be?
So I would say, don't wait for the moment when you consider that you know everything about something. Don't wait for the 100%. Just do it. If there is an opening, if it's an opportunity, someone believes that you would be able to do it, just do it. Because in the end, they all cook with water, as we say in German, and you learn by doing. And you can learn. If you work hard, you can learn very fast. And you just have to take the chance and
Love that.
So mine would be, manage your energy wisely. Just, take a network that inspires you. Just get your round of people that really help you, that bring you forward, that inspire you, that give you good energy in the end. It doesn't need to be always, they don't need to support you always, but it's like giving good energy and good vibes to really inspire you to do greater things. And don't waste your energy with people that follow by different ethical plans, different guidelines. And then on the other part, every problem needs immediate attention. So pick your battles wisely. It's like
good
some
point.
things will be solved by themselves when you are patient enough, take a bit of distance. And the younger me didn't know that at the beginning, honestly. So yeah, that will
Thank
be
you.
the advice to me.
Thank you so much for sharing your advice, where you're at within the industry at the moment, and I wish you both the best of luck. If any two leaders within the industry can grow this business unit, it's you two. And so I'm looking forward to watching the journey as you go through. But thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks for your time.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye bye.